Hello and welcome back to Quant Prep. On this video we're going to be looking at basic Python visualization. So basically we're going to be using Matplotlib and we're going to be creating pie charts, we're going to be creating histograms, bar plots, scar plots, you name it. So this is basically what we're going to do. We're gonna plot different kind of graphs, we're going to be looking at how to work with data frames. And we are going to explore different kinds of graphs. So I'm going to teach you how to plot all these from scratch. So let's get on to it. So we are here in our empty Jupyter notebook, and the first thing you will want to do is import the libraries you are going to use. So we are going to be using NumPy, pandas, and Matplotlib. So let's do that. And on this first step we are going to be creating the most basic kind of graphs, which is going to be a X and Y graph. And basically you are just going to be plotting with an X and Y values. They are going to be arrays. And you can start doing this with a plt.plot, but first let's create these arrays we're going to use. So let's say it rx equal to mp.arrange from 1 to 10, and basically our x looks like this. And you can create your y or you can create it as you are plotting it. It doesn't really matter, but let's do it one way first, and I'll show you how to do it more efficiently. So y is going to be just x squared, and then we can just start using Matplotlib plt.plot, and basically you're just going to input x and y, and here we have our first graph. If we want to get rid of this text, we can use plt.show, and there we have it. But maybe a more efficient way to do this will be to not create the y array, and you can just pass your formula here. So x is going to be x squared, and it is going to get exactly the same result. You can do a lot of customization, so you can, for example, let's say you want to add a title, so you're going to use plt.title, and the input of this function is going to be a string. So basically you're going to, I don't know, let's set this to x squared, and there we have it. And maybe this looks kind of small, so you can also use plt.figure to create the basic figure. Something important to mention here is that you will want to create the figure first, because this is going to create the map basically. So you are going to be plotting on that. So let me show you what I mean. So you are going to call plt.figure, and here you are going to set fixed size equal to a tuple, let's say 8 by 8. And as you can see, it already looks bigger, but if you happen to if you make the mistake of doing the plt.figure at the end, so let's say this fixed size, I don't know, 10 by 10, it is not going to work, because basically you are creating a figure where you are using plt.plot, and at the end you are creating another figure. So the correct way to do this is just pass this first, and then, so what is actually happening is Matplotlib is creating a figure right here, and then you are plotting on that figure. So it looks like this. So let's say, okay, we can also add a x label and a y label. So you are just going to use plt.xlabel, and we're going to call this x axis, and you can also create a plt.y y label, and let's call this y-axis. So as you can see, there's a lot of customization. You can also read the documentation if you want to do something more complex. But let me show you first that you can also plot different lines on this figure. So let's delete the title because we are going to have different graphs in here. You can also add a color for this specific line. So we're going to call this, we're going to set this color equal to red, and we're going to also add a label. So you can just add label equal, and we're going to call this x squared. And our next line is just going to be plt.plot again. We are going to use our x as our input, and we are just going to, let's say, x cubed. So, and we are going to pass a different color. Let's say this is going to be equal to blue, and our label is going to be x cubed. So, and there we have it. So there's another step also. You can just add plt.legends so that we can see these labels. Plt.legend. Yeah, there we go. Sorry. So here we have our graph, and as you can see, we have the labels here. We can see that the red line is x squared, and we can see that the blue line is x cubed. Something you can also do is use hex colors. So if you want a very specific color and you don't want to just use red or blue, you can just go to Google. You're just going to type color picker, and you can basically pick any color. Let's go with a green, and you are just going to copy this hex code, go back to your Jupyter notebook, and here in color you are going to use that code. We just run it, and as you can see, we have this very particular kind of green, and you can do this for any kind of color. So that's basically it on graphs. So let's move to the next kind of chart, that is going to be histograms. So let me show you. So now we're going to create a histogram. In order to create this graph, we are going to need to load some data sets, and we are going to be using the students performance dataset from Kaggle, which I'm going to link in the description in case you want to try this visualization exercise for yourself. So first we're going to load this data frame, and we are also going to take a look at it and see what we can do with it. So first we're gonna create this object called students, and we're just going to use pandas CSV reader. So pd.read CSV, and we are going to call this and let's take a look at it. So here we have our data frame. As you can see, we have a gender column, we have a race ethnicity column, we also have some math scores, reading score, and writing score. These are going to be useful to create a histogram, so let's use those. And a heads up, if you want to load a CSV this way, all you need is to have this CSV in the same folder as you have your Jupyter notebook. So now we can use plt.hist to create this histogram, but something that you need to remember is that a data frame is basically a collection of pandas series. So if you want to call any column, you can use this property. So basically, let's say we want to call the math score series because this column is a series. All you will need to do is just call students and select the column that you want to call. So with this syntax, and there we have this particular series. So now we can load this series onto our histogram. So we're just going to use plt.hist, and the first input is going to be the series we want to plot. So we're just going to do exactly the same. We're just going to call students, and on the students data frame we are going to call this particular column math score. So, and there we have the basic histogram chart. Obviously, if we want to get rid of this text, we're just going to use plt.show. And some customization that you can do is select the number of bins, so you can add this input bins equal, let's say, 50. And now we have more bins. Something else you can do is create a grid, so you can use plt.grid, true, and this is going to make it more readable. And you can do a lot of stuff with this. Something I personally like to use is ggplot style, so it is going to make it look better. So you're just going to call plt.style.use, and you're just going to input a string called ggplot. And here it is. I think it looks better. And you can use ggplot style to basically any graph in Matplotlib. So you're just going to need to call plt.style.use. So that's the basics of histogram. If you want to take a look at more customization, you can take a look at the documentation. You just Google Matplotlib histogram documentation, and you're going to find the inputs for this function and basically everything that you need to know. But now let's get onto the next chart. So the next basic chart we're going to learn is going to be the scatter plot. But first I'm going to create some series that are going to be the math score and the reading score, and I'm going to call them X and Y, and this is going to make the code easier to understand, I believe. And basically we're going to create this scatter plot to see if there's any correlation between math score and reading score. So maybe we believe that students who perform better in math are going also to perform better in reading. So this is a nice chart to explore that hypothesis. So basically, let's first create this series. So we're going to create an X series. Let's call X equal to students math score. And we're going to create also Y equal to students reading score. So there we have it. We can take a look at them. Basically they are going to be a series with all the scores that students had in those particular subjects. And now we are ready to plot our scatter plot. And basically a scatter plot is just going to depict the collection of points. So basically, let's say the first student had a math score of 72 and a reading score of, let's say, 80. It is going to basically plot that specific score. So let's take a look at it. So we are just going to call plt.scatter, and our first input is going to be our X, and our second input is going to be our Y, and we are going to call plt.show so that we see the graph. And here we have our most basic graph. We can also do a lot of customization. Something I like to do is make these points transparent. So for this we can call the alpha, and alpha goes from 0 to 1, where 1 is no transparency and 0 is complete transparency. So let's go with a value like 0.5. And this is going to be useful because we can see that in some parts there's a lot of points. So basically the more transparent we look at it, it means that there are less points, less occurrences there. And we can also change the color. So basically we can call C, and let's go with blue. And basically you can pick any color you like. And let me show you that something that might be useful for when you're using Matplotlib. So here I have the Matplotlib documentation. These are the named colors. So basically here you can find any color that you want to call. Basically here we have gray, we have a lot of colors from red, yellow, and you can find this by just googling list of named colors Matplotlib. So here let's say we're going to pick this slate blue. I think this one looks good, so you can just call slate blue. Yeah, I think that looks better, and I think we can also make it a little bit bigger. So remember, we're just going to use plt.figure, and we're going to use fixed size, and we're going to set it equal to a tuple. Let's go with, I don't know, 10 by 8. Yep, I think that looks better. Another useful thing of scatter plots in Matplotlib is that you can actually depict 3 axes. So let's say, for example, here that we want to depict the math score, the reading score, and the writing score. Basically, what we're going to do is set our third axis is going to be equal to a color, and basically this color is going to change as the score goes up or goes down. So let me show you how to actually do this and what I mean by this. So we're going to create a third value that we're going to call set, and this is going to be equal to students and writing score. And now what we're going to do is delete this alpha and our color, because our color now is going to be this series. So C is going to be equal to set. And we're going to use C map, which is going to be a color map. So basically this C is going to be changing depending on the value on this series. So let's go with plasma and let's see how it looks like. So as you can see here, as we have higher values in set, we're going to go to yellow, and as we have lower values in set, we're going to go to blue. This is going to be very useful whenever you are trying to depict 3 different type of series or different axes. This is going to be very useful. And actually we can also show here our values. So let me show you. So now we're going to call plt.colorbar, and basically we're also going to need to add a label. So for this specific color bar is going to be the writing score, because it is the one that changes depending on the value. So basically we're just going to say here writing score, it is going to look like this, and as you can see now we know that very bluish values are related to lower scores, and yellow values are related to higher scores. And we can also add our X and Y labels. So let's say X is our math score, so we're just going to use plt.xlabel, and we're just going to say math score. And next we're going to use plt.ylabel, and it is going to be reading score. And here we have it. And we have created a very neat way to look at all this information. Basically we're looking at how correlated are these scores, and as we can see, basically students that do well in any subject tend to do very well in other subjects, and this is a very nice way to explore our data. I think it is very clear, it is easy to interpret, so that's very useful. And okay, I think that basically covers scatter plots, so let's take a look at our next chart. So now we're going to create a bar plot. There's basically 2 ways to do this. One is to call plt.bar and basically kind of do the same that we have been doing, but there's a problem with that type of way of doing it. So basically, let's say that we want to plot the parental level of education in a bar plot. So basically, we will show how many occurrences are of bachelor's degrees, how many occurrences are of some college. And if we wanted to do this with plt.bar, we would need to have already the value. So basically, we will have to input how many occurrences are of bachelor's degree, how many occurrences are of some college. And it isn't that complicated, but we will have to count how many occurrences are of each unique value before we plot it. But there's actually a way that is easier to do. Basically, you create a panda series, and from that panda series you just type dot plot and we go from there. So let me show you how we can do this. So the first thing we would do is just call students, and we're going to call the particular column we want to plot. So we're going to plot the parental level of education. So here we have only called this series. So basically this is a panda series, and now the next thing we want to do is just use value count. So value underscore counts, and here we have already a series that shows some college. It has 226 occurrences and so. And now we can just use dot plot, and we are going to use kind equal to bar. Sorry, here is dot plot, not plt. And here it is starting to look like a bar chart, so maybe we can do plt dot show, and here we can see that we have already some college, associate's degree, high school, and basically this is going to make it way easier. So let's recap what we have done. Basically we're going to select our series or our column, however you want to look at it. Then we're going to use value counts to create a series that just shows how many occurrences are of each unique value. And then we're just going to use dot plot and set it equal to kind to bar. And you can also do a little bit more of customization if you want to. So let me show you. So now let's say we want to do some more customization, and we are going to do it inside dot plot. And basically, let's say we want to add a different color, let's say blue. It works the same way. We also, let's go with slate blue because we looked and it looked better. I don't know, maybe you want to add a fixed size, a different fixed size, you can do it here. So let's say fixed size equal to a tuple like we've mentioned. Let's go with, I don't know, 8 by 6. Let's see how it looks. Yep, I think it looks better. We can also add a title, but something that we need to keep in mind is that here we are not using plt.bar. We are basically going dot plot from this series, so the syntax changes slightly, so we need to create an object. So basically let's call this level from level of education, and what we are going to do is just use level dot set underscore title, and we can choose any title. So basically let's say level of education. So there we go. It looks, I think it looks better. I think it kind of looks finished. And basically what we're doing here is calling plot from a series, a panda series, and there's a particular set of documentation if you do it this way instead of how we've been doing it, like calling plt.scatter or plt.whatever. So in this particular example, if we wanted to do it that way, we would just call plt.bar. But like I've mentioned, this would come with a little bit of complications, so it is easier to do it this way. And you will just look at the documentation of what kind of inputs you can use when you have used dot plot kind equal to bar. And yeah, you can find the customization just looking for this particular documentation, and I'll link it in the description if you are interested. But I think this covers basically how to create the most basic kind of bar plots. And so I think that's it. Let's move to the next kind of chart. So now I'm going to create a pie chart. We are going to be using the column gender, and I think in this particular chart I'm going to show you what I mean by saying that it is easier to do it this way. So we're going to basically use both ways. We're just going to create a panda series, and we're going to use dot plot to create the pie chart, and then we're going to use plt.py and basically use the different inputs, and I'll show you why it is way easier to do it this way, but maybe you find it more suiting to do it in different ways. So let me show you. So the first thing we're going to do is, like always, we're just going to create our series. So students, gender, and basically we create this particular series that shows how many females and males are there. And we're just going to use value counts to see how many occurrences are of each unique value, and then we're going to use dot plot kind equal to pi, and basically we have created our pie chart. So as you can see, it was really easy to do, and it literally took one line of code, and it was really fast to do. But now we're going to try the other method that is going to be calling plt.py. So the first thing we're going to do is create our values. This is going to be a list, but first we need to find how many males and how many females are on this particular array right here. So for this we're going to use Python mask. So let me show you. We're going to call students gender, and we're going to set it equal to male. So what this is going to do is returns us an array basically of Boolean values, and as you can see, it is going to contain true whenever there is a male appearance, and we're gonna turn this into a mask. So basically we're going to say students, and we're going to again call gender, and we're going to pass this particular array, and basically it is only going to return those occurrences whenever this happens to be true. So it is going to return the third and the fourth row. So let's see how it looks, and then we can use the function count. So basically we're just going to say count, and then we will have the number of males in this particular array. So this is we are going to call this object male, and we're basically going to do the same for female. We just copy this code and we just change here, and now we have male and female, so we can create our value list. So we're going to call these values, and it is going to be a list male, female, and if you want to see how it looks like this. So now we also need to add our labels. This is going to be male and female, and now we're ready to plot our pie chart. So we're just going to do the same that we've been doing. So plt.py, and we're gonna set x equal to values and labels equal to labels, and here we have basically the same chart that we have here. Let's use plt.show, and there's also a bit of customization. For example, you can add percentages by using this code, And if you want to understand this a bit further, you can read the documentation, but basically this tells Matplotlib how many decimals you want and what kind of format you want. We can also make this pie chart a bit bigger, so we can use plt.figure, and basically we're going to use fixed size equal to 10 by 10. And yeah, I think it looks slightly better, but it is a bit more complicated. So I think we're gonna leave it at that. We've covered plenty of types of charts. So if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button, and I think that's that. Thank you for watching.